Are you looking for a small, portable, simple to use streaming device for on the go or at home? Then the Roku Stream Stick Plus 4K model 3830 could be exactly what you're looking for. Why do I specify 3830? Well, there was a Stream Stick Plus that Roku launched in 2022, and this is the updated version of that Stream Stick. What's changed since then? I'm Wanderer 001. Let's get into it. Now, I have been using and testing Roku devices for a long time. Playlist over there in the corner. And that's primarily because, in my opinion, Roku are one of the most simplistic to use and, for the most part, platform agnostic when it comes to playing streaming services. Roku will play just about any streaming service out there, which is why it's a good choice for those looking to stream everything and anything. If you get something like Amazon Fire Stick or Google's streaming device, or even Apple, they will try and push you towards their platform-specific channels over things that you may want to stream. Roku, for the most part, doesn't do that. Let's talk quickly about our hardware here, some general specifications. You are looking at a device that is 3.7 inches long and has a width of 0.8 and a depth of 0.45. Realistically, it's the same footprint as the 2022 model. You can see most of the hardware on the Stream Stick remains similar, including your LED light on the front here, letting you know that the Roku is on and or has received a signal from the remote. The only problem is this is generally going to be behind your TV, so you're not going to see that light. Now, coming to the back, there's nothing really to look at. They'll give you a quick link there if you scan the QR code. Over here on the side, this is the big improvement from the 2022 version, and that is a USB-C charge port instead of the micro USB. So Roku has finally caught up and unified their cableage with everybody else on the market, and I am greatly appreciative of that. On the opposite side of our USB-C, there is a physical reset button. Now, if you're curious about internal specs, these are a little harder to find, and Roku generally doesn't publish them where you can find them. However, internally, you're looking at 1 gigabyte of RAM as well as 4 gigs of internal storage. So that's going to be where you house all the firmware updates as well as your channels. Now, they did change the processor on this to make it a little snappier and, surprisingly, a little less power hungry, but I'll talk about that a little later. But that is everything that they've changed. They have kept the Wi-Fi being both 2.4 gigahertz as well as 5 gigahertz if you need that faster speed for that 4K video, but it still uses Wi-Fi AC or Wi-Fi 5. Now that we've covered the Stream Stick itself, well, what else is there to talk about? Well, for the most part, that's gonna be what comes in the box. And really, it's just two things. First being the USB-C to USB-A charging cable. This is just shy of 5 feet in length. So it is long enough that you can kind of finagle it around as needed. And out of the box, you will be using your TV to power your Roku. Speaking of power, how much does the Roku Stream Stick use in everyday usage? Now, I did allude to this a little bit before with that new chipset that I was surprised at the power consumption, how it's changed from 2022. Idling, meaning it's on but not doing anything, it uses 1 watt of power. The previous 2022 version used 2.3 watts. If you have an active screensaver going, the 2025 version here uses 1.3 watts of power, and the 2022 version used 2.5 watts. Now, if you're streaming, in my case, I tested streaming a 1080 video, it used 1.6 watts of power. Previously, the 2022 version used 3 watts of power. So you could see that chipset has actually helped reduce the amount of power that this device consumes, which is great if you're going to be using this around your house and not just taking with you on trips. Now, one of the things with the form factor of the Stream Stick is way back, the big purple one actually had vents along the side. The newest versions haven't had that. And after streaming video for 2 hours, it does get a little warm. I capped it out at about 95 degrees Fahrenheit temperature-wise. So a little warm to the touch, but nothing that you have to be concerned with. Now that we've talked about the Stream Stick and all of its specs, well, what's next? That's going to be how you actually interact with your streaming services and the Roku Stream Stick Plus here. You do that with the Roku remote. Now, Roku has streamlined a lot of their remote services. They used to have a lot more. So this is their basic voice remote with TV power. If we look at the front of the remote here up at the top, you can see that's our power button. That's going to be to power on and off our TV, as well as a microphone right there. We have our home button to bring us to our home screen. Even if we're in a streaming service, that'll bring us all the way back. Here we have our back button that will allow us to navigate back through our screens. We have our directional pad with an OK button in the middle. And this is a rubberized directional pad. It's nice, not really clicky sounding, but there is a tactile feel to it when you press it. We have our asterisk key. This is generally going to be for accessing extra menus, either on a channel or to access accessibility options. Here we have our microphone button. So you would press and hold that, and then you could talk to the Roku and have it do things. We've got our 30-second back or skip button. Here we have our rewind, play pause, and then fast forward. And then down here, what Roku is well known for, aside from their fabric tag that they still manage to keep with all of their remote, is the hard-coded, whoever pays the most to be on the remote streaming services. In this case, we have Netflix, Disney Plus, Apple TV, and Amazon Prime. Now, here's my problem. Apple TV, I don't have it. I've tried to get it again, but Apple, you don't like my account information for some reason. So I don't have Apple TV Plus. I can't get Apple TV Plus. I will probably never get Apple TV Plus in the future. And that button is hard-coded. I cannot change it in any way, shape, or form, and it will forever be a useless button for me. You really don't get to pick what's on the front of this, but I wanted to bring this to your attention. Over on the right-hand side, we'll call it the right-hand side, we have our volume buttons for our TV, as well as a mute button. The mute button is very important in my opinion and should be a mainstay on any streaming remote that you might be looking at. Now, notice at the top, you don't actually have a IR blaster that's visible to you, but it's in there for your TV. On the back, I do like that it has this little divot. It does make holding the Roku remote much easier and keeps it from getting away from you. It's not a glossy finish. It is a satin matte finish, which also makes it easier to hold on to. Opening up the back of the Roku remote, you do see that this is powered by 2 AAA batteries. That is actually included with the purchase of the Roku Stream Stick, so you'll be ready to go right out of the box. Now, with the remote out of the way, let's talk about setup. Setup is very easy for the Roku remote. This particular version is actually what I consider a plug and play, because you have your HDMI connector right there on the front. You just plug that in to your HDMI port on your TV. You pair your Roku remote with the Roku device. You then set up or link to a Roku account, and then during the setup process, it will preload some streaming channels. If you have a Roku account already, it will download the majority of your channels that you had on your other Roku devices. And in fact, one of the things that I really like that Roku has started doing is for some of the major streaming services, they will actually log you in with your login credentials as well, so you don't have to go through and input that information again on your own, which I like. It's why it's so simple and why I recommend it. And I'm glad that they've done that, because I've tested quite a few of these, and logging into all my services again to test was a bit of a pain. With all of our hardware out of the way, what's next? Well, that's going to be the Roku software, the user interface. This is one of the reasons that I say this is the streaming platform that I recommend to people, because of just how easy it is to use the user interface and navigate. Now, I know this next section is going to be very long, but I will be showing you everything for the user interface and navigation, as well as all the settings for the Roku Stream Stick Plus. However, if you are familiar with Roku's user interface already, I will have timestamps below where you can jump ahead to the next portion. This is a user interface walkthrough for the Roku Stream Stick Plus, which is the 4K model. If you are familiar with Roku's interfaces, not a lot has changed, honestly, except you may notice that they have become much more ad-driven. As you could see, some space on the left-hand side here is now taken up with ads. And once we move over to our grid of actual channels, there's also more ads over there. But if we use our Roku remote, select right on the D-pad, you could see at the top here, we have this top picks for you. There are a lot of things that you can change in the Roku interface, and this is one of them. It's based on your viewing habits. So these two I probably would agree with because it sits out in my kitchen. And these are shows that generally I watch and my wife watch while we're in there cleaning or making dinner. This one, I'm not sure why it's there, honestly. We do not watch that, have not watched that. Over to the far right, you'll notice that this is a selectable ad right there. That changes pretty much anytime you come over. So if something new pops up, it'll take over that space. Notice in the upper right-hand corner, if you select your asterisk key, you can modify your ad settings. So you could select show me a different ad, manage your ad preferences, or cancel. So if I want to say, show me a different ad, well, there you go. It's going to show me that South Park ad. Show me a different ad. All right, now it's going to do the Lost Boys. If I select manage my ad preferences, this is going to bring you to a spot in your settings, which I will show you a little later. But coming back over to the right, and I'm going to select down on my directional pad, these are channels, and this is how you're going to access your streaming content. You've got Netflix, you've got Crunchyroll, YouTube, Amazon Prime, Plex. Howdy is Roku's streaming channel that they kind of slipped in there. You do have to pay for it. It's only like currently, as of date of filming, $2.99 a month, and you get to watch pretty much everything on the Roku channel without ads, which is interesting, I will say. If for whatever reason you want to change the layout of your grid, come to the item that you want to change, select the asterisk key on your remote, and you can move app. You can move app to the top, or you could check for updates, remove the app, and close. If I select move the app, this will allow me to use the directional pad to move this to wherever I want. So if I want this in the first position, I put it there and I hit OK. Now, hypothetically, if I want to move the Disney Channel and I select the asterisk key, I want to move it all the way to the top. Doing that will automatically put whatever you select into that first position. And notice in the right-hand side right here, it says I have one of 33 channels. So that's going to be all the channels that are here. Some of these come pre-programmed by Roku. Others are ones that you add. Now, if we come over to the left-hand side, this is our guide. We were on home. We have live TV, which will allow you to look through options for live TV. And it even tells you where it comes from, and then apps where you could get live TV options. This is okay if you're looking for something to watch immediately. Generally, it will have ads. I hit the back button on the Roku remote to bring you back here. We have featured free, going to give us a selection. And notice underneath each of them, right there, it tells you the channel that it's coming from. So the majority of these are on Roku's own channel, but there we go. Here are some premium. A lot of these are going to be there. Prime, if you have it. Pluto, Roku channel. You get the idea. Coming down, we have sports. So this is going to be where you can get your sports fix from. Featured free, live. You can even select specific types of sports. Not gonna lie, I don't come in here that often. Generally, I clean up this side menu quite a bit, and I'll show you how you can as well. If I select what to watch, well, here it's continue watching specific things, which I agree, these are all things that have been watched on my Roku account. Here you have your apps. It's going to show you all of your apps. Saved lists. This is going to be things that you have saved across all of your apps. So Roku is trying to act now as an aggregate for all of your streaming services, and not just, hey, click on this and then you go to it, because this one is on Paramount, I want to say. Yep, Paramount. At one time I did subscribe to that. Here is Psych 3. It's on Peacock. Well, it says sign in or subscribe. I just haven't signed in on this particular device. This is on Disney. This, I want to say, is on Apple. Yeah, and that's Discovery Plus. So it's bringing all of that stuff into a singular location controlled by Roku, which is now more of an ad platform than a streaming platform, sadly. But here you go. More of the same. You could scroll through here, get an idea of what to watch. You've got your daily trivia, which you probably can hear. They have made changes to this. I liked it a little better before, but you can play a trivia game, and most of it's going to revolve around Roku streaming products. Think of it as another ad platform, which is how I see it, because if you answer the questions, they can get a general idea of your age and viewing habits based on how you answer and things that you know. Streaming store, well, if you want to add more channels to your Roku, this is where we come in and do it. So we have our featured free. It's going to show you all the featured free. trending on Howdy. This is, despite what you think, is not a Western channel. This is Roku's streaming channel. It's going to have all this stuff, Fandango favorites, but you can look at apps, you can search, and if you search, this will allow you to look for individual movies and channels, helping you kind of put what you want on here. Now, if we come down to search, there's two ways that you can search. You can type something in, or you can use the voice remote, which I'm going to do, Mark Hamill. This will allow you to search for an individual, and here, this is going to bring up anything that Mark Hamill might have been in, might have had something to do with, and then here are related actors. So if we select Adam Driver, it's going to bring up things that he was in. So not only can you search for Star Wars, and it will bring up related content, so movies, Lego Star Wars documentaries, it'll bring up all the Star Wars information. You can search for a individual actor, and it will bring up shows and movies that they've been in. But now we come to our settings, because that was all just how to navigate Roku. This is how we set it up and change things, which there are a few key areas that you really need to pay attention to. However, first and foremost is our network. Well, how are we connecting to this? We can select about, and that's going to give us information such as our network. In my case, this is going over Wi-Fi. We can check our connection, which if I run this, it's going to double check my network and let me know, is my network on? Is my Wi-Fi functioning correctly? And is the Roku attached to it? Underneath that, we have set up a connection. Well, this is a wireless device only, so that's all you have. We have our bandwidth saver, which if you turn this on, will help keep your data consumption lower. They recommend having it on because what it will do is it will turn off an app if it's been streaming more than 4 hours continuously, meaning you haven't messed with it. So this way you just don't leave something running in the background. Remotes and devices. We have a remote. You can connect multiple remotes. I have my voice remote. It will tell me in use, the battery level, etc. Coming down, this is also how you could set up a new remote. And then you could forget a remote from here. You will have to type in this rotating key in order to change that. You also can add a remote from here. Coming down, we have our themes. Right now, we have our dynamic Roku theme. It's the one that's on in the background. It also comes with a wallpaper, which is that right there, and a screensaver, which is the dynamic screensaver right there. We could preview this screensaver, which I want to do because one, this is Roku's dynamic screensaver. So with just about all the Roku screensavers, you're going to notice things like this. They're ads, and they are really heavily pushing their Howdy service right now. But I will say I appreciate that Roku has listened, and now if you wanted to access that, you would have to hit the asterisk key on your remote rather than hitting OK, play, pause, or home, and it would just bring you to whatever ad was featured. They have fixed that. Now, if you do not particularly care for ads on your screensaver, I will say that the children's screensaver here, if we preview it, this is the only screen that does not get ads. So notice no ad scroll there, no building advertising for their Howdy service. So if you are allergic to ads, this is the screensaver that I recommend using. Sadly though, if you select your wallpaper to be the children's wallpaper, that still does not save you from the ads here or on this page. Now, we went through wallpapers and screensavers. There's also sounds. You can change sounds individually. So if you like more Western, you could select that and it will change your selection sounds, your ba-doop-ba-doops, things like that. If you're looking for an all-in-one change, you're going to want to look at the theme packets. And there are several different packets that they have. Again, only the children's packet will not have an ad on the screensaver. Coming down, we have our seasonal wallpapers. This is during the time of year. Roku will override whatever you have and throw a seasonal wallpaper up there. It's nice. It's pretty fun. Sponsored? Well, if you don't want to see the latest whatever movie or show that's being pushed, I would recommend turning that off so that that type doesn't overtake your screen. Wallpaper animation, yeah, I'd leave it on. I enjoy that. Screensaver time, how long before your screensaver turns on? Disable it altogether, or you can go up to 30 minutes and as low as 1 minute. Restore default. Well, if you happen to be mucking around a little too much and just want to revert everything back, this is how you would do it. and that's back to our theme packs. We have our display type. In my case, I have a 1080 that I'm currently plugged into. You can leave it at automatic detection, or you can choose to manually select 4K HDR, 4K, 1080, or 720. If you are not sure, just leave it on automatic. Accessibility. Here are our accessibility options. There are a lot of options in this, and I greatly appreciate that Roku does this for you. So we have our caption mode. You can have on always, on reply, or off. And then caption style, you have text. What type of text? Now notice on the right hand side, it gives you an example of what that's going to look like. Text edge effect, there you go. Text size, demonstration right there. Same with color, opaqueness right there. Background color. You get the idea. If you need this, there is a lot of options to customize that for you. Caption preferred language, you could select what you would like. In my case, yes, I'm going to leave it on English. That is my preferred language. Screen reader, you can turn this on and off. If you don't need it, I wouldn't recommend turning it on, because if you do,
leaving gray screen reader enabled. Inaccessibility, screen reader, radio button, selected, 1 of 2, screen reader button 4 of 9. The screen reader announces information shown on screen.
You might not have been able to hear that, but it has a screen reader letting you know where you are in the navigation menu. Speech rate for that screen reader, you could select how fast you'd like it to go, as well as the volume, pitch, and a shortcut for it, which is if you happen to press and hold the asterisk key. So if you don't want to accidentally turn that on, I would disable that. And here we have auto play video, on or off, and then we're back to our captioning. Coming down to audio, here is our menu volume. So that's that clicking sound or badoop badoop that you might be hearing. You have high, medium, and low. Audio preference language. So again, another place that you can set that. Preferred streaming format, auto, Dolby, or DTS if you're not sure. Just stick with auto. And digital output format. Similarly, if you're not sure if you have stereo or custom, just leave it on auto, let the Roku choose for you. Here we have guest mode. If you enter guest mode, this will put the Roku in a state where somebody else can log into their services, and when they leave, their information won't be stored on your device. This is good for things like Airbnbs, or if you have like a pet sitter or babysitter. Here we have our home screen. Now, remember I told you there were things that we could change? First being this recommendation. If you don't want it at the top, you could select hide. If you want to adjust your title size, you could do that. Here we have live TV. Well, if I don't want that, I can get rid of that. Featured free, don't want that. Sports, don't want that. What to watch, don't want that. Daily trivia I'll leave, and shortcuts I'll leave. Now, look how much simpler that side menu is now that I've gotten rid of all those extras. Keep in mind, you can customize this to a certain extent to taste. And that was under our home screen. Under home screen, you have your payment method. If you have a Roku account, you do have to have a payment method on file as part of the account. I'm not a fan of that, but just know there's services that you could use to, put a digital card in there, we'll say. Apple AirPlay HomeKit, I have none of these, so just know this is how you can stream from your Apple devices. Here we have our legal notices. You've got your privacy policy, your terms of use, your account terms and condition, third-party license, and regulatory e-label. You will not go in there, I'm sure. Just know if you feel like reading, that's where that is. Privacy, here we go. Advertising, sensitive ad content. To see less of these, you have to select personalized ads. I don't like personalizing my ads. So what I recommend doing is every now and then, if you do set up personalized ads, just come in here and go reset identifier, and that will clear the slate for you. Voice, microphone, do you want to use it? App microphone, do you want it to prompt you? Do you want to always have it listening? Or do you want it to never allow? I would recommend just having it prompt you each and every time. And then speech recognition, you need that to make the remote kind of useful. Privacy policy, you hit OK to find it. Privacy choices, here we go. These you should consider strongly. In my case, I do not want my stuff sold. And then limit use of sensitive information. And then California privacy, notice if that pertains to you. Here we have help. So you've got your help with voice assistant or quick tips. The quick tips actually is a Roku channel that will walk you through the usage of the Roku device. Over on the side, you have About, which is going to give you some basic information about the system as well as your Roku account. You have your zip code. You could plug that in if you want. Time, you have where it is and the format. Control other devices. Do you want to allow one-touch play? There you go. Languages. You have your choices right there as to what you could do. Screen mirroring. I want it to prompt me if I'm going to try and screen mirror from my phone. And then screen mirroring devices. Right now, I don't have any allowed, but you could set it up to allow your phone, tablet, etc. Software update. You can see right there the last time that it checked for an update and the last time it actually updated. Restart your system. For whatever reason, you need to do a hard reset of your system. This is where you come in and do that. And then advanced system settings, you could factory reset. It does require you to do a rotating pin in order to do that. Network connection reset, if you want to just forget all the Wi-Fi networks that the Roku has connected to, this is how you would do that. Control by mobile app, well, I have it limited to network, meaning my Roku phone has to be on the same Wi-Fi network as this, or you could just come over and say enable, permissive, and disable completely. Right there, you could kind of see what it is about. And then advanced display settings, we have auto adjust display refresh, on or off. I have it off. That's how it came. I haven't had any problems, really. That was under our advanced settings. And that is everything under our settings for our Roku, which completes the user interface walkthrough. Now that we've covered the user interface and you can see just how simplistic and user-friendly it is, but you did hear me point out a few things that I wish Roku was not doing, which is a great segue to, even though I like the Roku streaming platform and stream sticks in particular, that does not mean that there are not a few cons that I want to point out to you. First being, this remote would not pair with this stream stick at all. I had to use one of my pre-existing Roku remotes, pair it to this stream stick in order to get through the setup process to then be able to pair this Roku remote. Now, I thought this was a one-off, meaning it was just something that happened to me. However, my mother-in-law also updated her Roku stream stick with this exact model and ran into the exact same problem and had to use the workaround that I described. Not everybody's going to have a secondary remote Roku. You really need to do better and figure out what's going on there. As I alluded to during the user interface portion, Roku is becoming a much more ad-heavy service. Yes, it still plays just about everything, but the ad creep is really noticeable. And the fact that it pushed their new streaming service app onto my Roku device without me selecting it was a little bit of overreach, in my opinion. Yes, I probably would have downloaded it to check out for myself, but not everybody is going to want that on their streaming device. And the fact that I already saw it plastered over my screensaver, I already knew about it, Roku. You didn't have to push it to my device. Moving on, we have our power cable. Yes, it is a very generous length for what you're going to be using this for, but out of the box, it does not come with a wall plug. You have to plug this into your TV, so you better have an open USB-A port on your TV to power this. Also, there's no real cable management. The previous version, the 2022 version, had a different cable because the Wi-Fi antennas were in the cable, not in the Roku stream stick itself. And they actually had like a strap. This is just a cable. There's no strap. Roku, I realize that you're trying to make this a cheaper device, but would a little Velcro have hurt on the cable for cable management? I'm just saying. With that being said, Roku remains one of the simplest and platform agnostic streamers around. Even with it starting to be a little more ad heavy than I would like, I cannot say that it is enough yet to deter me from the size, portability, and ease of use that the Roku Stream Stick Plus offers. This is why I still can recommend Roku for just about anyone's streaming needs, and the Roku Stream Stick 4K is no different. Does this sound like the stream stick you've been looking for? I will have a link where you can pick one up for yourself in the description area below. If you appreciate the time and effort that goes into making comprehensive videos like this, make sure to hit that like button to help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here and want to be notified of my next review, hit that subscribe button. Still not sure this is the right streaming player for you? On screen now, you'll see 2 other reviews that I've done to help you make a more informed decision for yourself.